So, hey, I know that you've all been waiting for an update, and I apologize for the delay. And this is a little bit different environment. Welcome to, I can't get down into my prayer closet because I can't bend down very easily, or certainly get into Indian style seating. So, welcome to my bedroom, but more importantly, my bed, my my office, my prayer chair. So this is the awesome free recliner that we were able to obtain before I went off for surgery, and because we knew we'd heard that sleeping in a recliner or like on a wedge or whatever would be more comfortable. And certainly after being able to sleep in an adjustable bed at the B&B, we were really blessed to be able to come back and sleep in this. I did for a couple of nights after we got home. Well, not after we got home. It was about a week after we got home. Dave was sick, and I didn't even want to sleep in the recliner in the same room with him. So I slept kind of elevated, made myself a wedge with some pillows we had gotten in, like big maternity pillows. And that wasn't horrible, but I was practicing because we had tickets to go to the Cove for an event, which was absolutely amazing, with Andrew Brunson, who was the pastor that was held in Turkey, the missionary in Turkey several years ago, and that the Trump administration was able to secure his freedom after 2 years in prison and after being sentenced to 35 years in prison. And he was speaking on suffering and persecution. And so as soon as I saw that last year that he was going to be at the Cove, we booked it. And then, of course, I got sick. But Dave was unable to go because he'd been off of work for so long. Little did we know he would be sick and unable to go. But I was like, dude, I'm not sleeping in here with you. So anyway, but I had to practice for the Cove. But I was glad to get back to the recliner after the Cove because that was a fail. Anyway, I was really sore and had overdone it. And anyway, so welcome to my office, my bed, my prayer chair. But I just wanted to give you guys an update because we haven't. And first of all, we just can't thank you enough for praying for us and for all that you've done over the past, we're going on 4 weeks now, and even before, but for sure since we left for Texas. We have felt so much love and so much, we felt the prayers. Everything was great in Texas, went really, really well, and, really was amazing. And we were covered, especially with things like I know you heard posts about how well we were taken care of out there with our hostess and host at the B&B, and God sending like grocery delivery people that we're still staying in touch with, and who are believers. And so from that perspective, just unbelievable grace and mercies. And then we came home, and we could just feel the heaviness it's like the plane was coming down, and as the plane was coming down and as the wheels touched down, we could feel the weight of all of our responsibilities back here, coming down with them. And so, even with help here, that was a big deal. And so, I know that people go through stuff every day. They go through treatment and all of the things that, and more than we've been doing right at home, with all of those things surrounding them constantly, little kids, work, house, all those things. But we had the luxury really and blessing of doing those away in an environment that really removed all of that. And so coming home, we really felt that. And so we got home, and for the first time really, and it could have been for a myriad of reasons, right? I know that I started to really kind of fall apart emotionally. And a lot of those could be, again, some of that is expected. I think with this kind of surgery, they warn you that there's going to be some depression. I now think some of that was the medication that I was on and coming off of. Also, I think that, being home in my home environment, it was much more frustrating for me to be home and not be able to do things. And I had a lot of help. Maybe my mom was here and helping, but I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. And then frustrated that I couldn't do for myself. So I think that there was just a lot of that. And then, Dave was back to work, and I had him to myself when we were in Texas, and he had really become my, I was really dependent on him. Right. And so the first night we were home, and, I expected he would come in and, we'd get dinner and sit down, and he'd, sit right there with me and whatever. But he had gotten a notice that one of our credit card bills was late. And I'm like, seriously? Like, we had everything paid up. So nothing, what, you think you mailed us and it's gotten here in the last 2 weeks and it's late? Like, what? I mean, at that point I was like, we ain't paying any late fees. Like, I'm playing the cancer card, right? But, he's like, Heather, I got to go in and I got to go through all this mail, right? Like, I have to go pay everything. And, life was back, and I'm like, but I want you sitting here with me. And, I had just gotten so accustomed to that. And so, realizing that at that point, so there was just a lot, right? And I was, I was uncomfortable. Again, some of my medicine was no longer on board. Some of it, was not necessarily, I was never on heavy pain medicine, guys, like never at any point. I mean, strongest thing I was on was Valium and gabapentin. Okay. Like for pain, literally just Tylenol and stuff. So it wasn't that so much. I didn't have the discomfort of the drains. I had negotiated to get those out before we left town, which is remarkable, really, because she's like, Hattie, you're borderline on these numbers. Like, we really like to leave at least one drain in. But she had negotiated with me, and she said, look, if you will go before you leave town and get like another compression garment, like a Spanx or something to wear under this binder, then I'll let you, and I'll take both. She's like, well, which one hurts worse? I'll take that one out. I'm like, they both hurt equally. Like, you're going to make me like, ah. And so we agreed to that. That was our agreement. But sadly, I think it's kind of like, how they talk about, if, you hit your toe, so you forget your thumb hurts, right? I think that having the drains out that were so miserable, suddenly I was aware of how uncomfortable I was everywhere else and being bound up. If you don't know me, and I think I talked about this in another video, if you don't know me, I hate being uncomfortable. If you do know me, I'm always in super comfortable clothing. I might look cute, but trust me, I am comfy. And so for me to be told I have to wear compression wear, for the next, 4 to 6 weeks, really ate, because she told me in that office, she said, some of the worst of the abdominal, swelling, or, some of the fluid stuff can be up to 8 weeks. So if I want to control that or be really, mindful of that, I'm going to wear compression wear for 8 weeks. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we ran off to Dillard's, quickly got Spanx. So I think by the time we got home, a couple days in, I'm just like, dude, I'm just so over this. Right. And, so anyway, you didn't hear from me, not because I wasn't willing to show that emotion or be transparent with everybody, because it wasn't that, but because I just didn't have it in me. I wasn't doing good. And so just to even have, well, A, be alone to record something like this, because I don't really do this in front of anybody. And 2, there's just a lot. So just to let you know that that's kind of where the last 2 weeks have gone. And then, I really didn't start feeling like myself. Dave got sick, and like really sick, like a fever, and like the flu. He got the flu. I'm gonna continue to point out to everybody. And so I was like, it's funny because when we first got home, I was getting a little bit like, do it myself. I was like a 2-year-old, right? I'd be like, he would be binding me the way he'd always been binding me. And then I'd be like, I want to do it. And he's like, Kathy, that's not how we've been doing it. And I'm like, I don't care. And then he got sick, and he couldn't help me, before I wouldn't let him. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't care if you're holding your breath or not. Like, stay over there, right? The only way this gets worse is if I get sick. And that was really frustrating. And I was overdoing things because I didn't want him near me, and I couldn't ask for help, or I felt like I couldn't. And, at one point I'd seen a Corrie ten Boom book on our living room ottoman, and I'm exhausted and I don't feel good, and everything I try in terms of binding myself and getting my bandages on, and nothing's working. He's already in bed, and I'm in our master bathroom, like, crying and trying to get this to work. And I remember the Corrie ten Boom book sitting there, and I'm going, I'm thankful for the fleas because the guards won't come in, right? Because I'm trying to remind myself, right, that A, there's worse suffering, and B, to be thankful, right, in all things, and consider it pure joy when you encounter trials of any kind, right? And so, and then I'm doing that, and nothing's working, and really it's an episode of a sitcom if you had a video in here, but camera in here, but like, and then the tag in my newly washed sleeping compression bra was like sticking in me just the right angle, right? Like, just, and I'm trying to do this, and I'm holding myself up against the wall so the compression binder won't fall down while I'm trying to get it around me, and everything keeps falling down, and that tag is sticking in me, and I'm like, thankful for the fleas. And then when I'm done getting the binder on, I'm breaking the rules, right, and holding my arm up above my head, and I'm pulling that tag out, and I'm trying with all my might to pull it, which is probably over the 10 pounds of pressure, because I'm not supposed to lift 10 pounds, but I'm pulling that tag out with all my might. And then I'm looking for scissors, and I'm holding it up with one hand and cutting it, again, both arms above my head, no Tyrannosaurus Rex arms there. I'm thankful for the fleas all the while. Like, I'm singing that mantra to myself the whole time, and I'm crying, trying quietly, because I'm trying not to wake Dave, right? And so then I hear Dave from the bed say, need some help? And I waddle over. Yes. And, I don't want to go near him, right? Like, I don't want to go near him, even if it is my back, even if I am desperate. So I hand him the scissors and tell him what I need. And he's like, you weren't trying to do this by yourself, were you? It's like, maybe. So he cuts the tag out, and anyway, I mean, really a comedy of errors in some ways. But I think also it was worse because I knew I was going to meet a guy who'd been in, Turkish prison for 2 years for the Lord, right? So anyway, just funny, but funny, not funny. So anyway, so just a lot of that stuff going on. But by the next morning, the other thing is I think I'd realized it was going to be uncomfortable no matter what. And so I kind of made peace with that. And so the next day I was leaving for the Cove with my sweet friend Jessica Dawson, who was willing to go with me instead of Dave, and take care of me there. And so that was the first day I kind of settled back in and felt like the Lord had kind of given me some peace, and I had sorted through it. So anyway, there's a little bit more to say there that I'll do another video on, but in the middle of all of that, the Friday of Labor Day, so Dave got sick he started feeling bad maybe Sunday night. He got a headache, and then by Monday morning he had a fever, which is Monday morning of Labor Day, right? We had plans. We were going to hang out with some friends we hadn't seen in a long time. I was super excited. Well, Friday of Labor Day, Friday afternoon, my doctor from Texas had called, and my pathology was back. And it was not what we expected. And I'll do a video just on that that's really brief, so that someone who doesn't want to watch all this doesn't have to get that scoop. But just know that was also an added pressure point, right? Because I'm telling you, the week before, right, the week we'd been home was already just really emotional for me anyway. And I was kind of falling apart, whether it's because I was coming down from the Gabby or whatever, who knows, right? But when we got that call from Dr. Johnston, Mom and I were out and about we'd been to the breast center at the hospital getting, the appropriate undergarments and stuff. And we were at Dillard's parking lot as we were pulling in, and Dr. Joe called, and great guy, love him. But he said, I got your path report back. It took me a while to get through it all. It's apparently like 21 pages or something nutty. And so we parked the car, and he proceeded to tell us that, there's some good news, right? Still not my lymph nodes, whatever, but that there were some things of concern. And so just know that all of this too is, that's kind of running underneath all of it, right? And, there we are on a holiday weekend again, because my very initial news was on Memorial Day weekend. And so, there we are on a holiday weekend. Now, this difference was I was talking to the doctor. Memorial Day weekend, I was just talking to like whoever from the radiologist just telling me, right? But I had my chart, so I could be, researching and whatever on, because on Epic, everything's loaded to my chart. In this situation, I had not seen the path report and could not. All I had was the remembrance of the conversation and what he said. And so, and he's just a great guy. Again, like we end the conversation with me talking about, Moravian sugar cake I took him, and we joked about that and whatever. And obviously we're going to be following up. And again, I'll post a separate video, so look for that. But just so you know, that then ran, I had to go the weekend. And it's so funny because God knows, right? Like my issue is control. This whole thing, it's not the whole thing that God's been working on me about, because there's been a lot, right? Just a lot of amazing things. So many amazing things. But it's about fear and control. It's about me letting go of control, learning to let go of control, you see my sign back there, I actually did turn it so you could see it, but it's always beside my bed, being fearless, right? And what does that mean? And I got to also tell you that in the context of even just this week at the Cove, the assignment that God has given Brunson is to tell the church to prepare for what's coming and to prepare for persecution. And that's why, and I've known that. Like I've known it's coming like a freight train. And so what does it look like, right, to endure suffering and persecution? And what's the difference? And what does it look like, right? And he was doing it to stand for the Lord, right? But we're so used to being comfortable. I am, right? But what does that look like when it's uncomfortable? And I'm not just talking about like uncomfortable, like socially uncomfortable, although that's a thing when it, and some of us have already faced it, right? A little bit, right? And some of us faced it, or, maybe whatever you think, right? But some of us faced it in terms of threat of losing our jobs. It's coming again like a freight train. So, but what am I fearless, right? What am I willing to do, right? Am I willing to be thankful for the fleas, right? Am I really willing to trust God with everything? And so there I am on a Friday with information, but not enough information to take any control, really. And go the holiday weekend, right? I can't call any doctors until Tuesday to start making arrangements here. So, anyway, that following week, right, that context was kind of running underneath, right? And so we're still, nothing. I'm obviously it's a bigger deal, right? But the praise report is that because of this, and there's something else Dr. Joe told me, he's going to go back in to the second stage surgery with my plastics guy when we go back. And we were praying that we'd be able to go back before the end of the year. Well, now they're definitely going to go back in before the end of the year. Like, there's no question. I mean, I'll be back. 3 months I have to heal. But now they will be seeing me before the end of the year. So that's awesome, right? Because we'll definitely meet that deductible. And so it could be that this pathology report is a big nothing burger, and it was just a catalyst to ensure we're in before our deductible is expired, right? And to give me even more empathy and another little control test and all those things, right? And we certainly can pray to that end. And it could be that getting in before the end of the year is nothing, because I am going to need, some kind of treatment just to make sure we've got everything. And that'll be okay too, So, but mostly, I said I'll do a little video just to kind of tell you what he said. But mostly I wanted to tell you where we've been the last 2 weeks and where I've been, and tell you that we are so thankful for you guys. And for those of you who've asked, like, what you can do even since we've been back, like, I just haven't known. I mean, I just haven't known. And really at this point, I kind of want to hold off because I don't know that we're going to need more this coming year. So we love you. God is good. He's faithful. He's faithful even when you don't feel him. And Andrew Brunson reminded us of that too. His ministry is called Wave Makers. And a Family Research Council did a whole video series of pretty much what he talked about at the Cove for us. So you can look that up on YouTube. It's amazing, and you can kind of catch what God has put on his heart. So if you feel led to do that, go check it out. And it's also on his ministry site. But anyway, so love you, mean it. Really are doing great. I mean, really, to see me, if I'm sure you've seen me out and about in some of the pictures I posted. We're doing great. I just I just have to remember that my body was in a knife fight 4 weeks ago and lost in a lot of ways. So love you guys, mean it, and God is good. And being fearless has to do with trusting the Lord and trusting him what Andrew talks about is trusting him without expectation of an outcome. Not trusting him to do something that you expect him to do, right? You need to trust him without expectation. You trust him because he knows the end. So, all right, love you guys.